Hello there. So here we are with issue 37, the bonus section. Alright, so before we get started, let's do our due diligence and go check out the data and the details. Okay, here we are with issue 37, and we had one video for that. We did framework and plating. This time we actually did a little bit different plating. We also attached some greeblies and that kind of stuff. Total time was 56 minutes and 10 seconds. We took two video captures to complete it. Total record time was 51 minutes and 10 seconds, and our final video time was 35 minutes and 44 seconds. We used 14 screws. This time we actually glued some parts, so we glued 6 parts on, and we used primer black because we were doing the undercoat painting for our stuff. So again, 35 minutes and 44 seconds was final video time. And if we look here, my first capture was 47 minutes and 38 seconds, and the last capture was only 3 minutes and 32 seconds. And that's basically where I revealed the plating that I had painted. So our total video time here is 56 minutes and 10 seconds, or total build time anyway. And if we come here and we look at everything here, we're up to 54 issues or episodes. Total video time is 27 hours and 25 minutes. Total build time is 86 hours and 28 minutes. Our average time's gone up a little bit because we had a over 30-minute video, so it's going back up a little bit. And we're up to 244 screws, 444 glued items. We did use one microbrush when we were gluing, and I also used one pipe cleaner to try to clean my primer nozzle. I don't think I'm going to make that happen, but I'm still trying. So that is all for this part. Let's go ahead and head over to the magazine and review that. And as always, hopefully you guys are getting something out of that. But there we go. So in this issue, we're going to talk about the Storm 4 Twin Pod Cloud Car. The Bespin patrol ship. So the manufacturer was Bespin Motors, 7 meters in length, 1,500 kilometers per hour. That's pretty fast. It's only got a 100-kilometer ceiling, and as far as altitude goes, its engine is an Incom TX2. It's got blaster cannons. Has one pilot, one gunner, and it's got a 10-kilogram cargo capacity. So as it says, these were manufactured on Bespin, and so it was kind of interesting. It's often used in civilian transport, is widely employed as a pleasure craft, swooping its occupants around the dazzling locations across the galaxy. Certain models can be outfitted to hold 2 passengers in each pod, making them ideal in atmosphere family transports. They can be used as service taxis, in places like Coruscant and other heavily urbanized planets. Yeah. So, on less developed worlds, these craft are pressed into military service, hence the weapons pods and whatnot. They were designed to have an ease of modification. So, one of the things that is important to note about this, and I'm trying to see if I can figure out where that's at. Let's just kind of have a look here, see if I can find it. I'll basically just tell you. So basically, what happened was this is get used around the galaxy, but because it was actually built by the Bespin, a Bespin company. They were manufactured in other places, but the whole point of that was they would basically you'd have to pay like a licensing fee or something like that to get the plans in order to be able to build them. So that was kind of interesting. I'm trying to see where that was. Okay, here we go. Bessemer Motors manufactures a large percentage of the outer and mid-rim storm fees and associated models, while other licensees pay a hefty rights fee to construct them in other regions of the galaxy heading in towards the core. So they could be manufactured in other places, but you have to pay a licensing fee, and so that was rather interesting. So apparently they carry a pretty big punch for as small as they are. Um, so that's kind of interesting as well. Petroleum Cloud City Tabana gas facilities, the versatility of speed of these vehicles means that practically any area can be reached swiftly for the purpose of defense, pacification, or offense. It's got an aerodynamic design, and with the boom in between having the engine there allows for airflow to cool down the reactor and whatnot. So that was pretty cool. So there you go. Let's look at a little backstory here. Designed in 1977 during production on Empire Strikes Back, the original design of what would become the twin-pod cloud car went through a number of iterations. Drafted by conceptual artist Joe Johnston to be a patrol craft, pleasure car, personal transportation, or other kind of vehicle, the vessel was very much drawn to match the aesthetics of its surrounding in Cloud City. Starting its life as a single podcraft, the twin cockpit design was first seen in a design dated December 1977. A second December 1977 drawing would give it a central steering vane similar to an A-wing, while an August 78 draft would be much closer to the final look, with another drawing giving it retractable landing claws. So there you go. Pretty interesting. Visiting Dantooine. So this one was a bit interesting considering the fact that we hear about Dantooine, but you don't really see it all that much. It showed up in some video games a little bit, and it showed up in the mini series of Clone Wars. Not the actual Clone Wars TV show, but they had a mini series and it showed up in there. So, but basically, it's got there's not a lot about it, but um, it's in the 4th position. It's in the Dantooine system. Uh, it's got 2 trade routes, but it's as we'll kind of discuss, it's a little bit out of the way. It's only 9,800 kilometers in diameter, which makes it a little bit smaller than Earth. Uh, regular temperate and standard gravity, grasslands, hills, steppes, savannas, mountains, and oceans. So, like I said, it's got two moons. One's a light purple, and the other one has a greener cast to it. Most of Dantooine consists of savanna, steppes, and that kind of stuff. The 2 hyperspace lanes run near the Dantooine system, while the Viragi trade route is long and winding. The smaller Mayato's Arrow, a backwater loop from Dantooine to Jameis, offers a faster trip. Despite this, Dantooine is not very easy to reach, but historians still argue about the civilization. That's a weird way to spell it. Never about why civilization never took hold, so that this beautiful planet remains nearly deserted today. And so one of the reasons why they suspect that might be the case is it has a distinct lack of natural resources. So, other than that, it's got all the good things. It's got a nice mild climate. It gets plenty of water, although most of the water comes during the rainy season. But it does have plenty of water. And yeah, so it talks about remoteness are the reasons why never been settled by wider galactic expansion. It is also likely that some colonists were discouraged by the battle that took place on their peaceful planet during the Clone Wars. And it mentions the lack of significant resources. So it mentions that there was a Battle of Dantooine during the Clone Wars, and so basically, the Separatists had they were looking for a valuable ancient artifact on Dantooine, and um, uh, when they were looking for that, the Republic decided to respond. Mace Windu went there, and um, although most of his troops perished, he was able to win the war or the battle, and uh, uh, apparently they did a little bit of damage with it with some seismic tanks that caused dangerous shockwaves to the planetary surface. Um, and of course, the main reason why most people would know about it is because it had temporarily been a uh, uh, Rebel Alliance kind of base, and so it started off as uh, the new organization picked this backwater to set up its first headquarters and prefabricated self-erecting living modules. The primitive base soon included defenses from a variety of sources, including weapons stolen from smuggler outposts and a small energy shield liberated from an Imperial correction facility. Dantooine was only intended to be a temporary base, yet more and more permanent structures were built while Alliance recruiters spread the word of the rebellion across the galaxy. But over time, security grew lax until Rebel pilot Ryle Torsen discovered an Imperial tracking device hidden in delivery of equipment. The device was destroyed, but the Alliance couldn't take any risks and decided to evacuate Dantooine immediately. Soon after that, the rebels found the Great Temple on Yavin 4, which became a new base even more carefully hidden from the Empire. Of course, they didn't realize that the tracking device had failed, so the Empire didn't know about it. And so, that's why when Leia offers it up, they went and checked it out, found out that she was lying, and they, ordered her execution anyway. So that was kind of interesting. So it does have some wildlife and some of those are predators and whatnot. And this kind of talks about them a little bit. Nothing overly um, interesting about that. There was one, the cat hounds. Um, Apparently they're rare to find on Dantooine now because many have been captured as pets or guard animals. The more common is the comically balloon-like Fabul, whose greatest fear is being punctured by the thorns of the bilba tree, then being devoured by carnivorous snails. So that's kind of interesting. The Uine. So the behind the scenes here is really interesting, I think. So Dantooine is one of many planets or systems in the Star Wars universe with a name ending in Uine. The most famous of them, of course, is Tatooine, but there are about 20 Uine systems in total. Unlike Tatooine, Dantooine was named explicitly in the script for A New Hope, although it was never shown in this or any other Star Wars movie. It did appear in chapters 12 and 13 of the Clone Wars miniseries in 2004, and its background has been expanded in source books in the former expanded universe, Star Wars Galaxies, and in both Knights of the Old Republic games. Early on in the creation of the expanded universe, production paintings of Alderaan were repurposed to serve as Dantooine. However, when the animated series Rebels was being developed, the original paintings helped to inspire the look of the planet Lothal. So, I only vaguely remember. It's been so long since I played Knights of the Old Republic, and I only vaguely remember going to Dantooine. So, yeah, pretty interesting. As far as planets go, boarding ramps. So this one's has some significance for some of our upcoming efforts. So the interesting part about the boarding ramp in regards to the YT series is you could have two, one on either side, or when you order it, you could have, if you only wanted one, you could pick which side it was going to be on. So I thought that part was rather interesting. Um, so of course it's good to use for pedestrian access and all that kind of stuff. Um, uh, so that's significant. So this one talks about YT. Now this is pretty cool. This is the actual kind of must be like the VIN number. YT 4927277Z 7Z ZED. The vessel that became the Millennium Falcon had a waiting buyer, and so it talks about who that buyer was and whatnot. And they chose to put it on that side, the same side as where the cockpit was. So that was kind of cool. And this part here talks about um, the different ways to do the controls and all that kind of stuff. It locks when it's closed. There's like 8 locks that make sure it stays shut and all that kind of fun stuff. Um, the Millennium Falcon configuration turned out to suit Han Solo well when it came into his possession. He and Chewbacca regarded the ramp's location as ideal, since it gave easy access to the cockpit from which anyone intending to board the ship could easily be seen. This was handy in difficult situations the pair often found themselves in when operating on the shady side of the law in their early days, and proved doubly so when they sought to avoid Imperial entanglements during their years fighting the Galactic Empire after joining the Rebel Alliance. The pair also developed a secret all-clear signal whenever Solo was approaching the outside of the ship with another person. He would give the all-clear signal to his first mate waiting in the cockpit before he reached the ramp. No signal meant that Han was in trouble, and his Wookiee co-pilot could then unleash the Falcon's ground buzzer on the unsuspecting associate. So there you go. The interesting part here in the behind the scenes, this was rather interesting as well. The Falcon's ramp, built at L Street Studio, was a typical Star Wars set, including a host of Greeblies that looked like they had an important job to do when the mechanism operated, but did not actually work. The hydraulic hydraulic struts, for example, were built out of recycled telescopic tube, but did not extend, while the ramp included seals made from rubber, impressive but not functional. Hinges and other items. The set also didn't match the Empire Strikes Back original filming miniature, which had no ramp at all. So in order to allow the ramp in your model to open and look like the full-size set, uh, discrete cuts were made through the hull plating, and the miniature struts had to be made to function. So yeah, on the actual model, they didn't have the ramp didn't actually open, so they had to kind of figure out the best way to put that in so that it would match the way it was in the movie. So that was kind of cool. So that is the end of this bonus issue. And again, we're going to be getting these parts in issue 38. So this is the ramp. And that's why this was rather fortuitous that we had the boarding ramp in this issue. So the next issue will actually be looking at this boarding ramp. Looks like we're going to have most of the parts that we're going to need to do the main, begin the main construction of that. So we will start tackling that next time and see what happens. So with that, I want to say thank you for watching, everyone, and may the force be with you always.